Yeah, well, yeah, we do our. We have people here that were very curious about why I'm walking around with this weird thing in my hand. Good morning. Good morning. I gotta go do an alternate spot now. My place was taken. Okay. No, now it's too late. I'm over here now. You. I know it's weird, but you stole my spot, so I couldn't go where I'm supposed to go. The whole morning is ruined now.
Not okay.
The whole morning's ruined. You don't fit in here now, right? Yep. So,
Good riddance.
have a good day. See you later. Bye.
Toodles. Late Liz coming in our day
Late
off.
Liz.
And
Yes.
so does that mean I'm late or really early?
Definitely late because you were supposed to do this yesterday. Jim, good morning. Gordon, good morning. Hey, Gordon's on. What do you got to be
I'm
doing?
not ready yet.
That's not okay.
You don't want me to sing today.
I don't want you to sing any day. All right, I'm gonna go back over to my normal spot because this is weird being
Well,
over
I didn't
here.
make you a spot yet because you.
Because you're late.
refused- Because you refused to accept.
All right. Well, you know what? While she's getting a spot ready for the camera, I'm gonna do just a real quick walk around to show we have inventory. Real quick, because I want to spend. We have a meeting this morning, so I can't spend a bunch of time. But we want to talk about what or who a reasonable person is as it relates to the law and use of force. You're fine again. That's every day. Ritz, good morning. All right, come on, camera. All right, shotguns. We have shotguns, lots of them with options. So if you want a shotgun, come on in here.
I have no notification. I'm so sad.
I know Facebook doesn't ever notify anymore. It's stupid. David, good morning. Long gun wall. So lots of ARs and other AR-like things. I do want to show something that we have up here that caught my attention this morning. Is this guy. So this has to be a Chris Bilodeau sign. Guaranteed Mo Big Buck package. Guaranteed to take a deer. So this is actually a pretty solid deal. So it's a CMMG 308 AR with a SIG 4-12 optic, loopholed rings, mag pool, 10-round mag, some Hornady ammo, both match and hunting ammo, and a bipod. Okay. Total retail $29.20. Your price $21.99. So that's a heck of a deal for a great setup. So if you need a deer season's right around the corner. There's an early season this year, an early doe season.
Really?
Yeah, in October, I think.
In October.
Yeah.
Like rifle?
Yeah, early rifle doe season. I'm pretty sure this year. Anyway, if you don't have a deer rifle or you haven't bought yourself a deer rifle in the last, I don't know, day, come in and pick up a new one. It's a good excuse to get a new one.
Yes.
All right, and then handguns. I mean, all the options from lots of manufacturers: Shadow Systems, Springfield, Smith & Wesson, SIG, all the options from SIG, Beretta, HK, FN, Canic, Glock, Walther, Carr, Savage, Gearson, Ruger, Taurus, Arex, and others that I'm sure I missed. So I know that's a pretty fast thing. If you have a specific question about a specific gun, if you're looking for something, just ask. We'll look to see if we have it, but maybe.
New. Firearms early antlerless portion, October 6th through 8th in open counties.
Oh, so that's
in
next
open
weekend.
counties. Yeah.
Yeah, certain counties. Next weekend.
It doesn't say which counties, but oh wait, here it is. Reynolds County will be open. Yeah. Anyway, there's a whole list of them. I'm not going to go through all of them.
Yeah. I'm not doing that.
But there's only a few of them that are not allowing it. Down in the Boot Heel and up northwest part of the state.
So, yeah, if it's your opportunity to get out during some not so cold weather, man, I might have to look at that weekend. Because I don't know if you bought, so come in here. And this is getting a little off topic for what we want to cover, but for your son that you've taken deer hunting, have you bought him all the cold weather gear and stuff? Yeah, I haven't either.
No,
because they grow out of the damn stuff so fast and it gets so damn expensive.
My first year hunting, I used my dad's stuff. My dad's a very large man. He's probably 250 pounds, 6'2". I was just.
You are not 6'2".
I am not. I'm quite a bit shorter than. Doesn't matter. But I was very warm.
I bet.
And it worked. And, well, that's the way it is. That stuff is expensive.
It is expensive.
Very expensive. And they're going to grow out of it. So.
No. My kids tried to hunt, not last year, but the year before, in, like, sweatpants. And I try to tell them to put more stuff on. They're like, oh, no, I'll be fine. When you're sitting still and it's 38 degrees outside, sure, if you're running around outside and you're wearing sweatpants, that's a totally different story than if you're sitting still for hours.
100%.
So, anyway, that's not where I don't want to. We can go on about that for hours. So, what are we talking about today?
The reasonable person. Are you a reasonable person?
I was going to ask you the same question.
You were going to ask if I was a reasonable
Yes.
person? I mean, I'm very reasonable. But what would make me not reasonable?
I mean, you? Lots of things.
It's actually kind of an interesting thing that we discussed a while ago. And I got a little... Hi, Papa. When we first started going through the USCCA program, they had a story on there that you kind of had to process and figure out if it was justified or not, or what would you do. And it was a situation where someone was on the third floor, a balcony in an apartment complex or something, and they had a knife in their hand, and a person approaching and parking and going into their apartment was walking inside. These two had some prior conflict verbally. They did not like each other, and they had verbal conflict in the past. So as this person is approaching their apartment, the person on the third floor said, "I'm going to kill you," and had a knife in their hand. And the question is the person walking into the apartment, would they be justified in defending themselves with force, with lethal force? And this got me a little... I overthought it a lot. And it came down to, I realized that I had kind of an unnatural fear of knives. I was like, at first I was like, yes,
Yes, what?
Yes,
Just
it's justified to use lethal force, and obviously through multiple conversations and analyzing it more, that's not a justified situation. But here's what it came down to, and I think it's important that we all try to understand where our fears come from, and if you have an unnatural fear, an unreasonable fear of something, and I had an unreasonable fear of knives. I had never trained with them, I had never used them, and they were such a passionate tool of death that it was terrifying to me. I had a paranoia of them. So in my mind, I was thinking that guy could throw that knife and stab me in the heart. The likelihood of that happening is slim to none, and I would have a really hard time articulating my fear. Again, that's fear.
Your fear.
Exactly. Not a logical understanding of life or death situation. And I think that's really important to recognize that my fear got in the way of my reasonable person standard. And I was wrong, and I learned from that. And we took a defensive tactics class last year, and the very first thing we did was start with plastic knives, and we would go from person to person, basically just trying to attack the other person. We had no guidance or anything. It was just like, all right, here we go. Just try to attack each other.
Melee fight.
It was awesome and very enlightening. And, we talk about the, what's the sewing machine method? What's the term for that? Like where you just stab the crap out of them in their
sewing machine.
That was the one that triggered me, and it was actually this one that did it. I had gone around and, tried to stab people, and they tried to stab me a couple times, and then when I got to him in the circle, he just immediately started to do that motion, and that, I was like, holy crap, that's what it was. And the more that we did it, the more I inoculated myself to it. I got the knowledge behind it to understand the complexities of it, and downgraded my fear quite a bit to understand that whole concept. So I would empower you to consider your fears and your paranoias, and are you reasonable?
Yeah, I think the the reasonable person thing is an interesting concept to understand, right? And it's something that we spend a fair amount of time talking about in a class like a CCW class, where you need people to understand that just because you think it's reasonable in the moment doesn't mean a group of other people are going to think it's reasonable. Whether that group is law enforcement or prosecutors or a judge or a jury. Right? If you have a substantial fear of dogs.
Very real, yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's a littlest, ittiest, bittiest ankle biter or a great big gigantic dog. You have a fear of dogs, and I'm walking down the street with a dog, my little ankle biter dog, and you freak out and draw your gun and start shooting because you're in fear for your life. Very, 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 very few people are going to find that to be reasonable. You're scared, right? You think you're going to die, but the average person is not. So it's going to be considered that what you were doing was unreasonable. You have an unreasonable fear of dogs or clowns or green grass or whatever it is.
I was going to ask about the clowns. Yeah. And I see that a lot on YouTube, this video come up with pranks and stuff like that. And first off, I don't know, that stuff, being in the industry that I'm in, those pranks that I see on YouTube where they're, a clown is coming out to scare you and chase you down the street. Not that it has nothing to do with the clown aspect. I mean, some of it, yes, but playing around like that to me is a terrible idea. And I think to consider, so let's say you do have a fear of clowns, a paranoia, and you're walking down the street and someone decides to do one of these YouTube pranks on you, and you see this crazy looking it clown come from around the corner in the alley, and
in the what?
The alley.
Oh, alley. Okay.
What do you think I said?
I don't know.
I question my way.
There's a weird tone. I don't know.
Well, let's say
anyway,
it's okay. Let's say they just come out of the alley and they approached you. Let's say they didn't have any weapons or anything. They just have this big scary costume on with these big old teeth and everything, and you're terrified. What are you going to do? And are you going to be able to articulate the specifics on why that would have been justified? If this person in a clown suit just approached you and just wanted to have a conversation or whatever, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a really hard time justifying that they were a threat just because you're terrified of them. Now, if that clown came out from around the corner with a knife, and maybe it's a prank, and that knife is just plastic, but it looks very real to you, and they start running at you, that's different. That's like, okay, would you be reasonable in thinking that that was a real knife, and this clown might be in a disguise to be able to, to attack somebody violently? That's different. There's a weapon involved. Now, the question is was that weapon real?
Yeah.
Did you know at the time it was real?
Yeah, it's not a hindsight.
It's not a hindsight. It's 2020.
Person.
Yeah,
it's not. So
in the moment.
I want to address Mr. Robert Williams' comment here.
You got to read it out loud for the YouTubes.
Okay, so let's be honest. In St. Louis County, your
ad better be airtight in court to not get charged.
Your
defense.
Justification better be airtight in court to not get charged. Then let's talk about how the family will most likely sue you. Yeah,
absolutely.
And when we talk about the fight, the physical fight is just one of the fights, right? That you have to win. If we're talking about a fight for your life, and we'll see if we can delve down that a little bit more. But there's multiple fights involved. There's the physical fight in the moment, whether that's hands-on, that's with a knife, that's with a gun, whatever it is. There's the fight with your friends and family. There's a fight with the local media. There's the legal battle, criminal. There's the legal battle that's civil. And then there's a fight within yourself, assuming you took somebody's life, right? So there's all sorts of different fights involved. And yeah, you have to realize that to begin with. And our hope is that you consider all that. That way you have a higher propensity to try to leave the area of the fight rather than get involved, right? If you can get away, do that. Don't get in a fight just for the sake of getting in a fight. So, damn it, I lost my point that I wanted to go back to on reasonable person.
Were you talking about the prosecutor and like where the jurisdiction is and the type of?
No, I mean that can come into play too, because if they don't think it's reasonable, then charges can be brought. And let's just say that charges are brought against you because the legal system where you live doesn't think that what you did was reasonable. However, you go to trial and you're found to be reasonable, you still are drugged through that trial.
Absolutely.
God, what the hell was the book we just listened to from Assad?
Oh, Deadly Force?
Yeah, Deadly Force.
Encounters?
Read the book, listen to the audiobook, whatever.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic.
All sorts of great examples of cases where everything was right? And this is what's scary about our justice system, right?
Still the best, but it's scary.
The best.
But it's scary.
Everything was done right, and then this person's reputation, their career, their family life, their finances are
absolutely
destroyed because the media perceives it one way and makes them out to be this awful, evil person, and they weren't, right? That's another one of his books. I have not read that one, so I don't know it. But
you didn't know it.
Yeah, if Mossad, for all his FUDisms when it comes to shooting guns, is the authority when it comes to
use of force.
Yeah, use of force, self-defense, case law. He's not a lawyer, and let's be clear, we're not lawyers. Are you a lawyer? No, I'm not a lawyer either. So let's be clear about that. But that's when you win. So when you take one of our CCW classes, we tell you need to read these laws. Like, we're paraphrasing what the law says. You need to take it upon yourself to read the law. When you read the law, you're going to see reasonable person quite a bit as it relates to self-defense. You need to understand that reasonable person is somebody.
Yeah, and we're all different. So just like I had my fear of knives and some people have fear of clowns and all that stuff, you could get a jury member that has irrational fears or whatever, and the reasonable person is going to be different to each person who's considering it. We're all incredibly different, think about different things, pay attention to different things, perceive different things, make decisions based on different things. It's really important to understand the people that would be judging you accordingly, which is why it's really important to be able to articulate very clearly and logically why you made the decision that you did and why it was reasonable to you, because you're going to be pleading your case to whoever it is that is going to be judging you, whether that's the prosecutor or a jury, and you have to be able to articulate why. One of the things that I bring up in my classes is after we go through all the law and everything and we're like, holy crap, my head's spinning from all this, like, think about the consequences are huge to using your firearm. Huge. And so I put it like this, a Shark Tank analogy. What are you willing to jump in a Shark Tank for? Your Rolex watch? Your phone? A stranger? Your dog? Your spouse? Your kid? All of those things really need to be considered. And the Shark Tank analogy is real. It's like there's going to be consequences. You're going to jump in the tank with a shark. You're going to get bit. What's worth it to you? And I empower you to think about the stranger one. first off, are you that type of person to jump in the Shark Tank for a stranger? You need to know that now. You need to know where your line is and what you're willing to sacrifice to be able to go home to your family. You also have to make sure you know the whole situation. Would they have been reasonable in defending themselves? Because if not, then you're not justified in defending them. And so that can get really dynamic too. So
it's a crazy, tough spot to be, which is why when you decide to carry a gun, it is a hugely awesome responsibility.
Huge.
And you have to be the bigger person. I thankfully this doesn't happen a lot, but it happens often enough that in the CCW class, I find myself arguing with a student about, well, if somebody's stealing my car, I'm going to go shoot them. Well, you can go do that. You are going to prison.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And is that worth it to you? Is it worth going out and getting involved and getting punched in the face and then getting stabbed and then shooting somebody, whatever the case may be, over a thing, right? If somebody disrespects you and you have to puff up your chest and be this big, strong, tough guy or gal, why? Be the bigger person and freaking walk away.
Absolutely.
Like, cool, dude, you're right. I'm a jerk. I'm going to go that way and be a jerk over there.
Yep.
Be the bigger person.
It's tough, guys. It's easy to say, and Vinny's got a great story. Come take a CCW class, and I'm sure you'll hear any one of us that teach CCW pretty much tell Vinny's story. And it's a very good representation of putting your ego in check and being the bigger person. Robert says, kiss that guy on the mouth and walk away. I mean, that will probably do a very good job of changing his... disrupting his OODA loop. That's funny.
I've just got like multiple images running through my head right now.
Of you kissing him?
This is yes.
Vinny,
It's terrible. It's terrible. Why do you do this? Why do you do this?
Funny. So anyway,
Mr. Miller, good morning.
Hi Andy. What's your purpose? Why do you even consider self-defense, and why are you worth defending? What's your purpose? What's your why? Is it to go home to your family every night? If you're in jail for the next year trying to battle your way out of a court case, or you're in jail for the rest of your life because you murdered someone over ego or property, you're not going home to your family, and they're probably not going to want to visit you in jail.
What's the book by Varg?
Varg Freeborn, Violence of Mind.
Yeah, another great book.
book.
Another great book on the consequences of violence, and the theory of I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6, and how that's
dumb,
not a great mindset to have.
It's
not a great mindset.
I get it.
Yeah, I get it in
both
broad
sides,
strokes, like, hey, I'd rather live to fight the other fight, but you don't realize how tough that fight is, and that's what this book goes into quite a bit from his personal experience of
defending
killing somebody.
himself with a knife,
Yeah.
which is and honestly,
Did he kill him?
yeah,
He did kill him?
I think so.
Now I don't remember. Anyway, it was a
It's a great book.
violent encounter. Whether the guy died or not, I don't remember, but he went to prison.
Yeah, he grew up in a bad neighborhood, and he ended up being in a situation where he had to defend himself with a knife. And the encounter, the way he describes it, it was justified. But society looks at knives like a very, very violently passionate tool, and it requires a lot of... Knives are not like...
You're very connected to that violence. Right?
Yes, and it doesn't stop the threat fast. So while knives are devastating for sure, and they're quiet, and they're I've seen plenty of videos, and forgive the gore here, but I've seen videos of people getting in brawls, right? And then some guy will come in, like, big tough guy come in to shut it down or whatever, and then you see him walking out of the fight with blood squirting out of his neck. He didn't even realize it until he loses consciousness, because they're sharp. I mean, how many times you cut yourself and you don't even realize it? That's, if you're trying to stop a threat, that, oh shit, I've been shot thing is the psychological aspect of that. Is a big one. But knives are not, like, it requires a lot of use to actually stop a threat. So the way his case was perceived was that he was just over the top violent with this person, like out of a movie of a serial killer, just stab, 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 stab. But that was what was required for that person to stop attacking him. So it was really difficult for the jury to see him as a reasonable person because of how much violence came from him using that as a tool of self-defense, because it didn't stop the threat quickly. That's another point that I wanted to bring up, is the concept of killing, stopping, or injuring. Okay? When you consider using force in any way to defend yourself, and this can also go with hollow points and everything, so the purpose is to stop the threat. Hi, Dad. If that means that I can display my gun and say, put your knife away, stay over there, I don't want any trouble, that stopped the threat. You know, if he stopped, that was stopping the threat. If I had to draw my gun and point it at him and he stopped, that's stopping the threat. If I had to fire one round and he stopped, that's stopping the threat. If I had to fire multiple rounds to stop the threat, that's what stopped the threat. My goal is to stop the violence against me from being dead or severely, gravely injured as soon as possible. If they're doing something to warrant a lethal force option, that means whatever they're doing to me has to be immense. I mean, immense to the point where I need it to stop right now, which is why hollow points are important. That means training is incredibly important. Getting your gun out on time is incredibly important. So gear's important. Practicing your draw, all that stuff. But back to the killing, stopping, injuring thing. If you're of the mindset that you use your gun to kill someone who is attacking you, that's wrong. Because you're not trying to win the fight. You're trying to escape the fight to safety. You're trying to stop the threat to get to safety and to save your life. You're not trying to win a fight. Yeah. It's not a oh, I won the fight because he's on the ground. Remove killing from your brain, because we are good human beings that don't kill people. We defend ourselves if necessary, but we do not kill people. We stop a threat if needed to keep us from dying or protect our loved ones. Injuring, oh, shoot him in the kneecap. The other range I worked at, there was this lady that came in and said, do you have any of those full-length body targets? Why do you want one of those? I want to practice shooting him in the kneecap, like, what was that movie where that guy just always shot him in the kneecap? I think it was a Jim Caviezel movie, but anyway. No, we don't shoot to injure, too. If you think so first off, shooting to injure or warning shots is automatically telling the other person, well, it's also telling the jury that the force against you was not immense enough to warrant deadly force. Yes. And that alone right there will say that your firearm was not a valid tool because you only needed to injure them.
Yeah. You didn't feel it necessary to use deadly force, even though you're using deadly force. You simply presenting your gun out in that manner is using deadly force. You're giving somebody the substantial risk of death or serious physical injury. So if you say that, well, I was just trying to injure them so they would stop yelling at me, walking at me, whatever, so I shot him in the kneecap. I didn't kill him. You're still using deadly force. You just committed a crime. That's not okay. The lethal force option comes out when it's warranted, when it's justified. If you actually employ that tool, that's another story. Like Liz said, if she starts to go for her gun and the bad guy's like, oh, hey, that's the wrong way, I'm going to go this way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The fight's over. The threat has stopped. You get to go the other direction, go home to your loved ones. If the threat doesn't stop and that draw continues all the way up to the point of using the firearm and you stop the threat, maybe it kills the person, maybe it doesn't. The point is exactly what she said of stopping the threat so you can stay safe. I like to tell my students that your only responsibility is to yourself and your family. Okay, you don't owe me anything. If you see me at the gas station getting attacked and there's people stabbing me or shooting me or whatever, go away. Like, protect yourself. Get home to your family. You don't owe me anything. You owe your friend or your family and yourself to get home, to get to safety.
And it's really important that you make that decision now. You have to understand what you're willing to do. Like, are you a high responder? Are you already someone who knows that you're going to come to someone's aid? If that's the case, you need to visualize these things, because if shit hits the fan and you start trying to be a hero, you're going to be clouded by, your judgment's going to be very clouded, like, because all you're wanting to do is be a vigilante or whatever trigger phrase you want to come up with these days. And I think it's really important that you understand the consequences for defending someone. And you think that you're going to be on the evening news as a hero. You're not. You're not. You're not.
Good chance you're not. Yeah.
We know what happens to people who use force, even with legitimate means.
So I want to be clear about something. In the state of Missouri, right, you can use lethal force to protect somebody else if they have substantial risk of death or serious physical injury. So we're not saying you cannot. We're saying you need to understand the consequences of your actions. And if you think that, hey, I see Phil getting robbed at the gas station, I'm going to jump in and save the day. I have my truck gun in the back of my truck. I'm going to pull out my AR and use it to save the day. You're going to be vilified, for sure. Think about just that tool, and I use that specific tool on purpose because that is a tool that is attacked constantly in the media. So even if what you did was justified, the fact that you used a military rifle to stop Bob the bad guy when it warranted being used, but because it was an AR-15, you're going to be vilified in the media. And there goes your reputation. More than likely you're getting sued by somebody for something, and good chance you're going to at least face the high likelihood of criminal charges as well.
Absolutely.
Vincent Leone, good morning, sir.
Hi, Vinny.
Dennis, I gotta say good morning to Dennis. Good morning, Dennis.
Oh, I missed that one. Hi, Dennis. I haven't seen Peggy in a while.
Yeah, tell your mama to get on here.
Yeah, we need to schedule another GOP.
You do need to schedule. All right, what else? We still got a little bit of time if you've got more. But
I mean,
any questions about the what?
So I always have more.
I know. I should have.
Except for when you walk away, and then I'm like,
yeah. Any questions about anything that we've talked about or comments? Please throw them in there. Well, yes.
I always ask this question in my class, in my CCW class. What is something in this world that we love very much, that lives and breathes, that might not be considered worthy of lethal force?
Are you asking me?
I mean, I'm asking whoever, but I know you know the answer. But think about this for a second before I tell you. But there's certain things in this world that we love a lot, maybe even consider them family, kids. Yep, dogs.
That's not fair. He works here.
Vinny. Jeez. It's okay. Dogs, animals, pets, goldfish, whatever floats your boat. Wait, goldfish don't float on the boat. They float under the boat. But pets, pets are considered property, at least in the state of Missouri. I don't know of any other state that wouldn't consider them property. But they are not a living, well, they are a living thing, but they are not something that our law states that you can defend with lethal force. However, this is the story that I tell in my, I have a black German Shepherd. He is awesome. He's beautiful. And when I got him, all I could think about was someone's going to try to steal this dog from me. This is actually another thing to consider, because I was reasonable in thinking someone's going to steal my dog from me. Do you know why? Most people have never seen a dog be stolen. I watched my neighbor's dog get stolen right out of her front yard. Their dog escaped out of the front door, the little French bulldog, we know how expensive those things are, and someone just drove by, scooped it up in their car and took off. And I was like devastated for her. And I'm like, you just lost your baby, you know? So I had this irrational fear of someone stealing my dog. So of course I'm visualizing all the things that could possibly go wrong when I'm out walking my beautiful dog and someone's going to stop by and try to take my dog from me or whatever. So I started questioning what I would do. And then this was before I started teaching CCW and everything, but I had to learn that dogs are considered property, and you cannot defend property with lethal force. You can defend it with physical force, okay? I can tell you that my dog is about the one thing in this world that's considered property that I would defend with physical force. I would defend my dog with physical force, even though that could escalate, okay? So that's another thing to consider. Dog or car, let's say someone's breaking into your car in your driveway. I worked hard for that car. Absolutely. You go outside to confront that person, you could legally, per our statute, use physical force against them to keep them from stealing your car, damaging your car. However, what if they escalated the conflict to drawing a knife on you or punching you or knocking you out or whatever, to the point where you needed to draw a firearm to defend yourself? It could escalate to that, and even our statute allows for that. But over what? A car. So, that's not worth it. Are you jumping in the Shark Tank for a car?
Yeah, so while the law says that it's okay to use physical force to defend yourself, or to defend a thing, not defending yourself, to defend a thing, could it be argued that you were unreasonable in leaving the safety of your home? All right, let's say that car's in your driveway. You're leaving the safety of your home because you saw somebody breaking into your car. So you left safety to go intervene. While the law says it's okay, it still may not be considered reasonable. Mm-hmm. Okay? So you now have to deal with everything you've done from that point forward is illegal. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because it's not considered reasonable. Now, let's change that up a little bit and say that somebody was trying to steal your car and you were just walking out of grocery store, walking to your car, getting ready to put your groceries in, and you happen upon it. Now you're confronted right then and there, and you get in a physical altercation about it. That could be a little bit different, right? You didn't insert yourself there with the mindset of going out to protect a thing. You happened upon it. That could be viewed a little bit differently. It could also be argued that the reasonable person would have dropped their bags and turned around and ran away, right? So what's reasonable? You know, who's sitting on the jury? Is it a bunch of people that are me that are going to think it's reasonable to get in a fist fight over somebody trying to steal your car? I always use the example in my classes of my bicycles, right? Because I own, if you've watched this much at all, you know that cycling is one of the things I'm into. I have lots of bicycles in my garage, and they're valuable bicycles. They're not a $50 bike. So I use that as an example on purpose because to most people, that's absolutely ridiculous to get in a fist fight over a bike, right? Absolutely ridiculous. To me, it makes sense because that's something I worked hard to get for myself, but also me doing what I do and understanding the bigger picture, I know that it's not reasonable. It's not okay. If I lay my bike down in my front yard and I see somebody stealing it, and I go out and I jump on their back and start trying to beat them up, and they pull out a knife.
You would choke them.
Probably would. Hopefully. That would be my intent. So that's another thing. So we always, anytime we visualize this stuff, we always visualize. Thank you.
Welcome.
Ourselves as the winner. We are not always the winner. Right? We always visualize ourselves going out. The guy's stealing my bike. I'm going to go out and pop him in the mouth. He's going to fall down and say, "Ow, that hurt. I don't want your bike anymore." That might not be the case. They might pull a knife. And like we said, that attack can be very violent and very fast. And now all of a sudden, you, at the very least, have been stabbed and potentially lost your life over a bicycle or a car or whatever other thing, your precious grass, whatever it is. All right.
Get off my lawn.
So, is that worth it? Is that worth it? The answer is no. It's not.
You jumping on the Shark Tank for your bike?
I mean, I might. It depends on the bike. So I always used to joke, I can't do it anymore since I got a new car, but I always used to joke that I have bicycles that are worth more than my car that I was driving every day. And that's legitimate. That car finally fell asleep.
And now you have...
broke down, and now it's gone. Fell asleep. I don't know why that came in my head for some reason. Baldwin Cycles does love me. It's a great bike shop, by the way. If you need a bicycle, go down to Baldwin Cycles. We're right down the road from us. Good people.
So, anyway, I would be willing to get into a fight, a physical fight, over my dog. He's worth that to me. And that's me. That doesn't have to be you. You have to make that decision, though, now. You need to think about these things. One of my favorite quotes, and I don't know that anybody really knows who said it, but is, your body can't go where your brain's never been. And in the heat of a moment, when you're pumped full of adrenaline and you're frantic and you're trying to figure out what to do, first off, now that's not the time to learn how to get a good grip on your gun, how to draw your gun from its holster, or, God forbid, your pocket or something. Practice that stuff, because you need to free up as much brain power as possible to be able to go through stuff. One thing that Masad brought up in his book that was really interesting to me is that people say that you don't think in the heat of a moment like that. And he said, you absolutely think. You come out on the other side of that with all kinds of like you thought about so many things. It's just you're less in control of what you're thinking about. But we're pretty powerful creatures and have awesome brains, and we do have the ability to think through situations like that, given that you're not trying to overwhelm yourself with the amount of things to think about.
Yes.
And if knowing how to... if getting a good grip on your gun, or drawing your gun, or even just, well, today I'm gonna practice. I'm gonna carry in the small of my back because of the shirt I'm wearing. But I've never practiced drawing from this position. First off, don't carry in the small of your back. But that's not the time to be practicing new stuff. Like, you need to train and practice with it first, and have that with muscle memory to where you don't have to think about it if that situation were to ever come up. So.
Yeah. If you have to use brain power to think of, where is my gun at today, or my knife, or my pepper spray, or whatever the tool is, how do I use it? Am I carrying a gun today that has a safety or doesn't have a safety? Is it a full-size, subcompact, whatever. If you have to think about all these different things, that takes away your ability to think about the situation that's happening in front of you. So, for sure, practice. We're getting very close to being out of time. So, What else?
That's about all I got.
Okay, and that's all I got. This Friday, Gracie Baja, right down the street from us, women's only.
Self-defense workshop.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Words are very tough for me this morning. Self-defense workshop, 7 to 9 p.m., $25. Please shoot us an email, training@therangestl.com, to get signed up for that. You pay when you get there, but email us just so we can have an idea how many people are coming, so we can let them know. Please, training@therangestl.com. This is a great clinic, 2 hours of learning to use your size, which is typically smaller, and utilize leverage to get away from somebody. And it's a great class.
In particular situations that women tend to find themselves in during violent attacks, like someone grabbing your hair, grabbing your wrist, trying to pull you somewhere, a bear hug, chokes, and that's a really important aspect of it. And just like we were talking about, you have a hard time thinking of something in the moment unless you practice it. Even if you've gone to this workshop before, come again. It's inexpensive, and it's totally worth it, because you're going to get to practice those again. And if it were to ever happen to you, that you find yourself in a violent encounter, that skill is going to come to you much easier, and you're going to have more confidence in your ability to do it, which in that alone makes you walk differently.
Oh God,
it just does. But you have to commit it to, what is the saying? In the heat of a moment, you'll rise to the occasion, but you'll fall to your highest level of training or something. But if you don't have the training, if you haven't committed it to memory, you're not going to have that confidence, and you're not going to be able to apply it very well. So while this is just an introduction to the self-defense world, come again and again and again, so that way you can build some repetition with it.
Yeah, I don't want to give any sort of false sense of this 2-hour clinic turns you into a super ninja. No more than an 8-hour handgun class turns you into a gunslinger. You know what I mean? It's something that you have to keep going back to and apply. I was at the gym yesterday and talking with a new student and at the jiu-jitsu gym, and this guy's like, "How the hell do you remember all this stuff?" And I said, "I don't know." It's like, but it's little bits. You gain little bits here and little bits there, and then when you do it again, you pick up something else, and you do it again, and you pick up something else, because that first part you don't have to think about now. You know what that very first part is, but now you can remember the second and third part. And then now that you've done it again, you remember steps 1, 2, and 3. Now you get to worry about steps 4 and 5. So
I love it.
It's tons of fun.
I love learning.
So like I've said before about that clinic, my hope is that it helps open your eyes to what you have the capability of doing, that you're worth fighting for, and that you can fight for yourself to get away. So, and that you want to go back, whether it's there or not. And they'll tell you the same thing, like, come to this gym. Yes, we want you to come here, but go to a gym, to a jiu-jitsu gym, something like that. Get a membership at some place close to you. We had one lady after the last one come up to me and be like, "Hey, there's a Gracie Baja right down the street from my house. I want to go to that one."
Go, do it.
Okay.
Yes.
Like, go
anywhere.
Do that.
Yes.
For sure. That's okay. We understand not everybody lives in Baldwin. Okay. It's really about empowerment and knowledge and wanting you to be a better self-defender. So, total package, firearms, hand-to-hand stuff. You never leave home without these things. So being comfortable, getting hit and rolling around on the ground and all that stuff is huge. So,
Hi, Nick.
Good morning.
Also, shameless plug, we have a women's awareness and safety seminar that we do here, and that's mostly about using the tool right between your ears. Intuition, setting boundaries. It's kind of funny because in that class I get people to start using their voice, and you think that's easy. Try again. It was actually a couple classes where at first I have us all do it together. Like, hey, stop. And, we'll use our voice, we'll get loud and everything. And then I will start walking up to people, and I want them to tell me to stop advancing on them. I want them to say, hey, stop to me as I'm walking up to them. And I'll just randomly pick somebody, and I'll give them I tell them I have the mom look. It's that look of like, I'm about to, you're in trouble. So as I'm walking up to them, I want them to identify my body language, which we talk about, criminal body language and pre-attack indicators. And then I want them to tell me to stop. 9 times out of 10, they can't do it. I'm not even kidding. It's unreal to me. First off, they have to make the decision that I'm a bad person, because a good person has a hard time seeing the bad in others. And then they have to be comfortable using their voice and saying words they've never said before. So come in and take the class. I'll get you to use your voice. I'll show you a couple techniques to get out of some bad situations, and that can be on top of the Gracie thing, and it's a big picture thing. So anyway, come on in. All right, that's truly all we got. But I know we could go.
I know. So just because it happened yesterday, right? It's a conversation that you and I had with the student that I was. So I'm new to jiu-jitsu. I've been doing it for just under a year, and there was a brand new guy in the class, and we were doing some chokes, and he mentally, not physically, couldn't do it. Mentally, could not bring himself to choke me, and it was interesting to me, because I've seen that from women when it becomes time to have to be violent. They can't bring themselves to do it.
Me, I have a hard time with it. I'm working on it. It's tough.
I'd never seen that with another guy. He was like, we were working on this choke, and he just kind of like touched my neck, and he's like, okay, I'm good. I'm like, no, you gotta, like, I'll tap when I'm done. And he really had a hard time bringing himself to do it. And I'm pretty sure he'll be able to work through it and get over it. I hope that he continues to come and realize that this is something he can do. But it was very interesting to me I've not been exposed to that. Usually with brand new students, you gotta like, hey, calm down a little bit, man, like settle down. And this was quite the opposite. It was an interesting reaction. Everybody's freaking different.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. It'd be very boring, very weird if we were all the same.
Absolutely.
All right, we gotta go.
Gotta go.
You guys, if you need something, come see us, 14803 Manchester Road in beautiful Baldwin, Missouri. As Nick says, non-shameless plug. We have a pug, non-shameless dog. Non-shameless plug. We have an IDPA match next Thursday. Get out here and join a match. Shoot the match. You will have so much fun. You'll become addicted very quick.
I'm working on it, Gordon.
Oh boy. This is going to be bad. This is going to be. I'm not going to be able to be here whenever she sings the jingle. Gordon wrote us a jingle, and Liz is going to sing it.
I'm going to sing it eventually.
I'm going to have to be on the other side of the room.
I'm thinking I might record it ahead of time so I could do several takes. Oh, you're electronic, so you can hear me better. No. That's so nice.
If you need something, come see us. We got all sorts of cool stuff. Stay safe, be nice to one another. We'll catch you soon. Later.
Toodles.
Hit the button.
Awkward pause.